Hey guys, Sandy here, and today I'm using my For the Love of Homemade kits to scrapbook this photo of my foot being rubbed by my husband. Now, that might skeeze some of you out, and if it does, I'm sorry, but I am all about scrapbooking what you want, and I want to scrapbook these little moments and tell the stories behind them, so that's what I'm going to do. I've got my kit. Let's see what I can do. So I'm starting out with some black cardstock, and who knows if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes I feel like I use black cardstock in place of other things where I don't know what to do with it. But in this case, I really want it to play up the black and the pale colors that are kind of a combination on this page right here. And then for some reason, I was just cutting this paper entirely crooked the entire time. I could not tell you why I couldn't get it to cut straight to save my soul. Eventually, we got it though, eventually. So here is that paper, and this is Pebbles Girl Squad, and I can tell you that when that collection came out, it was one of the Pebbles papers that I really, really liked. I usually don't go for a lot of Pebbles papers. I don't know why that is. They don't just, I'm not just like, oh, I've got to have that collection type of thing with them. But this Girl Squad paper, I was completely on board with. So I am using these two strips that I trimmed down to place on either end of this paper, and that is keeping those chevrons in. So for some reason for me, when chevrons are just flat out on a page, they need to be contained because they just feel like they could just go on forever. And I know that that probably sounds a little wackadoo, but that's how I see it in my head, so that's what we're doing. I am going to use more of that floral paper to create a big old kind of mat here. And I just have a little bit of the flowers poking out, and then my photo is going to lay on top of it. Now, this definitely was the, it was the challenge from International Scrapbook Day, where Sharon won bingo, and then we had to use the 5 things that she won bingo with. So I was definitely having fun with this layout and making sure that I used those 5 things. So now I have this big old kind of matte cluster in my center, and I know I need to use tags, and I'm thinking about bringing in the khaki color along with the white, and I really like the way that this looks, and that's kind of surprising because there really is no khaki color whatsoever on this layout until I bring it in. And I do make that happen. I decide to take off the twine that is already in the tag because I just wasn't feeling it. It felt too thick and too bulky for what I had going on this layout. Now, originally I was going to add in some, what is that stuff called? Some stenciling, but I don't think that that ends up happening. I do grab some of this Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy flare, and I figured that my love was appropriate, especially since my husband is doing something amazing by rubbing my feet, and I just felt like it needed to be documented. So now I am trimming down the labels, and I do have to confess I love labels. And some people might be thinking I buy them all the time for the sheer amount of labels I have, but I actually buy labels almost in bulk. So when LA Studio has a sale, I buy a whole bunch of them because they go super cheap. If they're on clearance, I'm like, ooh, gotta buy all the labels because everybody's gonna use a label, right? Or at least this girl's gonna use a label. So those ones I just put together to create something interesting down the side. Now I do have those 2 green labels that kind of match up and where the color kind of repeats, so I will cover that up with something. I don't remember what I cover it up with, but I do. I think it's some washi tape, if I'm remembering correctly. So I made this layout last weekend, and I honestly don't remember everything I did on it. Do you guys do that? Do you make a layout, and then if you don't see it or talk about it or something for a couple days, you're like, what did I do there? At least that's the kind of way I feel. So I added that silver, almost washi tape. It's not really a washi tape. I got it on clearance at Target when they reset the stationery section. But I am going to add these acetate labels right here. I'm just trying to peel off the, what is that stuff called? Like the protective barrier. I don't think that one ended up having a protective barrier, but this one down here on the bottom did. So I pulled that off. I'm trying out different options over here to kind of make this tag cluster a little bit more interesting. And then I know that I've got to do something fun where I added the silver washi tape to the top and the bottom strips of flowers. And it's just a matter of trying to figure out what in the world I'm going to do to make it fun. So I decide, what would be awesome is if I fussy cut out some flowers. And who knew that fussy cutting out the flowers was the perfect thing? Evidently I did, because that's what I'm doing. I'm fussy cutting the flowers. So this flower is not a complete flower, but I thought that it would be perfect tucked into this silver tape here. And then I'm going to go in there and cut out some more flowers. And that's just, I just needed to bring the pink over here where I am fussy cutting right now, because there's pink everywhere else on the layout, except right there, those labels that I put in, it's all like the yellow and the teals and the grays. So I definitely felt like we needed to bring in some more. So now I'm just trying out the different florals, and I'm going ahead and doing a little cutting around them. And yes, I am overlapping on my photo, and I am completely okay with that. I'm not really concerned about the little bit of paper and stuff that is overlapping. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out a couple more of these little flowers. I decided to layer these two on top of each other. Really like the way that looks. And then I'm like, okay, we need to bring in a little bit more fun down here. And I just cut off this little bit, that little white flower that was basically just a tiny little bit of a flower on the paper, and tucked it down there. And I'm liking it. I'm determined to have this heart vellum tag on this layout. And that is just because I have had these vellum tags forever. And I mean forever. Years and years and years. So I am just determined that I am using the ones that I pulled out for this kit. And it's going to happen. Like that, I'm feeling like it has to happen. Now I've cut out this pink flower here. And we're going to make sure that that goes up at the top as well, just to give it some more of that pop of pink. Even though there is pink and that entire strip up there, it needed that big, bold pop. So I put my label down, and then ultimately I decided that the flower had to be on top of the label. I did not want the flower tucked behind it whatsoever. And then I'm just trying to figure out, do I need to add a little bit more? Do I need some more flowers here? Like what do I need? So I decided to repeat that black and white flower little piece that I had down there at the bottom, and I'm going to fussy cut out this, it's like 3/4 of a flower, and tuck it here, because I felt like it just needed a little bit more there. And at this point I am super seriously loving what is going on with this layout, and I'm like, okay, we got to make some stuff happen. So I try to take these khaki colored labels that have gold on them and trim off the gold so that I could still have the banner part without the gold. Now, you guys know I normally don't mind mixing my metallics, but this one I just really felt I didn't want gold on this one. I like the way the silver looks on it. It is making me happy, and mixing the metals wouldn't be making me happy on this layout. And gotta do what makes you happy in your scrapbooking, people. If you are miserable in your scrapbooking and you hate what you're doing, there's no point in doing it. Just do what makes you happy, seriously. If using gold all the time makes you happy, do it. If using silver all the time makes you happy, do it. If mixing them makes you happy, do it. Just do what makes you happy. And the great thing about scrapbooking is that you can be in love with gold and use gold everywhere, and then one day just decide, I don't want to use gold anymore. And you can use a different metal, or you could decide, I don't want to use any metals at all. And it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to follow any kind of metallic rules in scrapbooking. You can do what you want. I mean, you can do what you want. It's kind of like my real life catchphrase, which is do what you want. So yeah, that is going on there. Now that I have ranted, I am not looking down at my layout, so I don't know exactly what's going on here. Okay, it looks like I went and pulled some embroidery floss so I could tie some bows, because bows was one of the items on the bingo. And, you know, I really didn't want to pull out any pre-made bows. That didn't seem like a fun thing. But I knew that bows in my tags count. And this is something I do pretty often with either embroidery floss or baker's twine, or even ribbon. I just tie a little bow, put a dollop of glue down, and then put my little bow down onto my tag. Because tag holes usually should have something in them. I have some layouts where I don't put anything in my tag holes, but most of the time I feel like tag holes need something in them. So now it's just a matter of finding some enamel dots that I like. I'm going to use that one right there to cover up the tag hole on my metal thing, my little metal tag here. I run it through my Xyron X so that the adhesive completely coats the vellum so you don't see it when it gets stuck down to the page. And then I'm going to grab those enamel dots again, I'm pretty sure. Oh no. First, we're going to grab some Nouveau embellishment mousse, and I am just going to use my fingers to smush it into this white cardstock. And it pretty much dries almost instantaneously, so I'm not really worried about it whatsoever, but I do put down a lot of embellishment mousse, more than I need for what I'm going to do. Now, these stamps right here, this lowercase stamp set is from Brutus Monroe, and I love it. I love the fact that they give you doubles of some of the more common letters. Like there's a couple S's in there, there's a couple A's, there's a couple E's. That makes it easy if you're going to stamp out long words that have multiple letters in them. You don't have to go back in and fill in the stamp with your letter. So I'm going to type out "This is love," and then I'm going to stamp it on top of this embellishment mousse that I have up here, and then I'm going to fussy cut these letters out because they do not have a coordinating die set. There is an uppercase set, but they don't have a coordinating die set. So as you can see, I'm making that happen. I'm going to spell out love. I'm trying to space them out a little bit so that I have plenty of room to fussy cut. I don't want them to be super close and tight, because then I'm going to have to worry about letters and, you know, being super careful with my scissors and how far I can cut. I don't want to worry about that. I just don't want to. So I just go ahead and use my heat tool on it just to dry it, just to make sure that I'm not going to basically rub anything off while I am trying to fussy cut them right here. So it doesn't take long to fussy cut these little letters whatsoever. There's not a whole lot of angles on it. It's not like super intricate or anything like that. It's just really straightforward little letters that we're going to get cut. And I am building it right on top of my tags because over here on the tags was still very naked, very, very naked. So I needed to make sure that there was going to be something else up here. And putting the title here, just perfect. Well, in my eyes, it was just perfect. You might be thinking that's a crazy place to put a title, and you might have put it somewhere else because you like naked tags. But this is where I put them because that is where I liked them. And then as you can see, it is not taking me long whatsoever to cut out these letters. Now, these letters are pretty awesome. I've used them in the past. They have the shadow and the outline, or the fill-in section and the outline. So I could have stamped with the fill-in section if I had that kind of teal color, and then stamp the outline on top of that and fussy cut it that way. But because I wanted to use that particular color of embellishment mousse, I just went ahead and did it this way. And I do believe Tonic is still having a sale on embellishment mousse. I will try to link down below in case you're interested in that. I will link down the stamp set as well because this is a fantastic stamp set. I love the font on it. So I'm just going to glue these down with my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. And I'm trying to tuck my letters in where I kind of feel like they look good. And it's not just like slap the title down. It's kind of like slap the title down, but fit it in the space where it looks good. If that makes sense to you guys. Now this is where I'm going to add in enamel dots. So I do use the dark green enamel dots, the same color that I went ahead and put in the center of that vellum heart. And it's just like, where should I put these? What should I do here? I do add these orange ones as well, just because I thought that they looked good right there. Like, I don't know why there really is an orange on the page, but I felt like they added a nice little fun pop. So I went ahead and did that. Now I'm going to add a few lines of journaling right here on the bottom of the tag. And I do believe that is going to wrap up this layout. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you guys again real soon for another video.